You know that friend at your office, quiet, focused, never complaining about Mondays the way everyone else does. And while everyone else is just going home at the end of the day, they're going somewhere. Not just physically. In their head, every commute back is one shift closer, one day shorter. If you've ever wondered what's happening inside the mind of someone working specifically so they can ride their dream motorcycle, welcome. Because this isn't about escapism, it's about a very specific kind of architecture. Let's start with what their days actually look like, because this is where it gets interesting. People who are saving for their dream bikes always have a listing saved on their phones. He's looked at it probably 200 times. The photo is slightly overexposed, taken in someone's driveway on a Sunday afternoon. He knows the year, the mileage, the asking price, and exactly how many more paychecks stand between him and that phone call. And this is what most people miss. Most people save money to afford a life. These people save money to afford the life. The distinction sounds small. It isn't. When every unspent dollar is directly connected to something that produces a visceral, irreplaceable physical experience, the relationship between restraint and meaning collapses into a single line. You know exactly what skipping that dinner out buys you. And that clarity is rarer than anyone admits. Psychologists studying intrinsic motivation have found something counterintuitive about people who structure their financial lives around a consuming passion. They don't show signs of deprivation in the clinical sense. They show signs of direction. Their spending decisions, their social choices, their daily sacrifices tend to align in a way that people without a central goal simply don't experience. The motorcycle isn't straining their budget, it's organizing it. It's the fixed star every dollar navigates by. And here's what it feels like mentally to check your bank account when a motorcycle is the reason you're watching it. Because this is where the philosophical distance between observers and these savers becomes almost impossible to bridge. It's Tuesday evening. The notification comes in. Another deposit. Another number that moved in the right direction. Somewhere underneath the routine of it, there's a calculation running quietly. Every unspent coffee is a conversion. Every declined night out is a conversion. The sacrifice isn't the opposite of the ride. The sacrifice is the price of admission. And when you know the price and you've chosen to pay it, the discipline has a dignity that ordinary saving often doesn't. There's a guy named Marcus from Alabama who works night shifts at a logistics warehouse. He's been doing it for 2.5 years. Not because the pay is exceptional, because the nights are quieter, the overtime is more predictable, and nobody asks him what he's putting away. What he's putting away for is a 2020 Yamaha R1 he found listed online at 2 a.m. during a break. He opened a separate account the next morning and named it, not savings, the exact model. When his friends finally asked why he'd turned down every Friday night out for the better part of a year, he thought about it for a second and said, "I know exactly where every dollar I don't spend goes." Most people save in bulk, vaguely, to a future that keeps rearranging itself. Marcus saved dollar by dollar, to something with a VIN number and a specific shade of faded red. And then the day comes. All those Monday mornings, all those calculations, all those not yets accumulate and then, finally, close. When you hold the key for the first time, most people expect you to feel an enormous rush. But what actually happens is usually the opposite. A silence settles in. The first engine note is different from what you expected too. You've heard it 1,000 times on YouTube, but in your own garage, turned over by your own hand, that sound is no longer a reference point. It's a confirmation. The first ride itself is rarely spectacular. A few cautious laps around the block, almost shy. But that doesn't matter, because for those few minutes, the narrator inside your head goes quiet for the first time. The sentence that began with someday, for years, ends on that day. And when it ends, the only thing left is the road itself. Just the road. Because the dream always watches you from a slight distance. But the first ride pulls you inside it. And that difference cannot be measured against anything. Now, let's talk about the honest part. Because there is one. Every rider who has structured their financial life around a motorcycle knows the arithmetic has a shadow side. The machine you saved for can change its price while you're saving. Life can redirect the fun before you get there. The sacrifice can feel invisible to everyone around you, including the people closest to you. You've given up things other people didn't notice you giving up, for something they don't fully understand. And there are moments, usually quiet ones, where you wonder if the distance between you and them is worth it. This isn't a case for living this way. What we're doing here is something different. We're examining the psychology of people who've decided that a life organized around an honest, consuming desire is more coherent than one that isn't, and that the coherence itself is worth the cost. So next time you see someone at the office who seems strangely unbothered by the things that bother everyone else, who eats lunch at their desk without resentment, who declines things without guilt, who seems, somehow, already somewhere else even while they're fully present, you're asking the wrong question if you ask what their secret is. The right question is this: what's the thing in your life so specific, so physical, so undeniably yours, That ordinary work stops feeling like a cage and starts feeling like a route. What would you build your week around if you let yourself? Because for these writers, that's not a fantasy. That's Tuesday.